Welcome to Thursday, the 16th day of June 2022, your day weather podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily has more original Wyoming news content than any other news organization in the state. Cowboy State Daily, sign up for the daily newsletter and check them out on their Facebook page. Some thunder and warming up. Sounds like summer. Temperatures are going to be on the way back up again in many areas over the next 4 days, getting quite hot, but subtropical moisture is going to not only increase the heat, but water vapor into the region. So that shower and thunderstorm pattern we showed you over the last couple of days is still on schedule for parts of the Intermountain West, bringing some really needed rainfall. Need to also warn folks, there could be some heavy rainfall with some of these showers and thunderstorms, and we'll need to keep an eye on that. We do have a cool front that will drop temperatures early next week. This next cold front, not nearly as intense as what we've seen lately, but we're going to get hot, then we'll cool off a bit early next week. So there'll be a little bit of a governor. Brakes get put on the heat by early next week. I wanted to show you a visible satellite picture. This is from yesterday afternoon. This visible satellite photo shows a lot of detail, but the thing I want to show you is the amount of snow that we still see in the mountains. There's the Bighorns. Look at all the snow that is still in the northwest mountains of Wyoming, the Wind Rivers, the Wyoming Range, the Tetons, the Gros Ventre. There is still a lot of snow in those higher elevations. Also, look at the snow up in the Yellowstone Park, the Absarokas, up into the Beartooths. Now, some of that white you see are clouds, but a lot of this right here is still a lot of snow up high. And then if you look at Snowy Range, still has some snow, even the Sierra Madre is up high. Then if you look at the North Park Mountains of Colorado, the mountains of central and northern Colorado, while the snow there certainly is not as intense as up here, as you'd expect, more south you go, the less snow there's going to be this time of year. But there's still, here we are June 16th, up high, there's still a lot of water being held up in those higher elevations. Now, as we go forward, today's forecast shows a classic setup of a summertime high developing over the southern plains with that clockwise flow bringing in that warmer air again. We also have a little bit of hurricane activity off the west coast of Mexico. That's going to head out this way and not going to be a player, just going to go out into the ocean. But the tropics heating up in the eastern Pacific a little bit, that adds water to the equation as we've been talking about. As we get into Saturday, the high settles in right here. And the green arrow represents that monsoonal moisture flow starting to increase across Mexico, Arizona, the desert southwest, pushing northward. And then this cool front and trough just kind of stalls out here along the west coast. So what's going to happen is a lot of heat in the nation's midsection, pretty warm here, but the subtropical moisture comes into the mix. So there's going to be still quite a bit of contrast for the middle of June. In fact, the last 3 nights in parts of Wyoming, parts of Montana, and the High Plains region, many areas got nipped by a little bit of frost due to temperatures in the lower 30s and upper 20s in a few areas. But this heat is certainly going to bring some warmer conditions our way. And that green arrow represents that influx of moisture. And there it is. This is for Friday afternoon. Anywhere you see a darker green or a blue color, that's the area where the thunderstorm activity will be most widespread. So you can see that focus right there in western New Mexico, the Four Corners area, and southwest Colorado. But notice the green pushing northward into Wyoming. That is for Saturday, and this is it for Sunday. So as you plan your weekend activities in these darker green and blue areas, that's where the thunderstorm activity is going to be the most likely. So if you head outdoors, maybe you're headed to the Chugwater Chili Cook-Off Saturday, or maybe the Woodchoppers Jamboree in Encampment this weekend. It's going to be quite warm, but late-day thunderstorms are going to be popping on up. By Tuesday, notice the brown curls back into the central Rockies and kind of cuts off the deeper moisture supply here. This is typical. What'll happen is you get these surges of subtropical moisture, drier air gets into the mix, the thunderstorm activity drops off again, and then rinse and repeat. Basically, the cycle will repeat itself later on. This is through the next several days here. You can see this arch of thunderstorm and shower activity coming on up from that subtropical moisture. And as we've showed you lately, there's a real concentration right here where the heavier showers and thunderstorms will be, but it's also beginning to push a little bit more to the north. Now, of course, a lot of folks are concerned about Yellowstone Park, as I just showed you in the satellite imagery. There's still a lot of snow up high to melt off. I don't think we're looking at the same situation at all that we had this last weekend. But anytime in the Intermountain West, in the late spring, summer, you're always at risk for flash flooding, and the monsoon moisture flow is basically the big player. This early in the season, it's these heavy thunderstorms mixed with snow still melting out of the high country. So you need to keep your guard up if you're going to be planning outdoor activities this weekend, and really any weekend throughout the course of the summer. And July and August is a peak flash flooding season for a lot of the Intermountain West because of that summertime monsoon. One thing I want to talk about is some wind. And the wind is going to be developing this weekend because of that low here and the high in the plains. So there's going to be a big pressure gradient. So it's going to be windy in areas that maybe aren't as used to as much wind. If you look along I-15 and I-80 in Utah here, we're going to be looking at that strong southerly wind flow, making it a little bit on the windy side. This will be especially true as we get into Saturday and Sunday. But we're also going to see a strong southerly wind flow coming on up into all of these areas here. So it's not going to be that strong northwest wind like we've had to deal with here over the last couple of days, but a persistent southerly breeze bringing that heat and higher humidity air into the region. This is out to Tuesday of next week. You can see the cold front coming in right here. The high is going to hold its own. This front is going to kind of bounce around and go over the top of this here. And the high then will regain strength and rebuild again. And here it is. This is by next weekend. And what happens next weekend? Clockwise flow again. So subtropical air comes right back into the region by late next week and next weekend. So these thunderstorms are going to kind of come and go, but we're seeing an early summer pattern finally getting established. A quick La Nina update. The sea surface temperature anomaly shows a huge swath of cooler than average sea surface temperatures. Look how cool the waters are off the coast of South America here. Quite impressive. But I want to show you something. Really, this is the most important area right here. Notice these little orange patches right here. Well, we're near the peak sun angle on the equator right now. So that does warm the water temperatures up a little bit in the tropics. And so what is happening is, if you were to look at the heat content of the ocean, notice that in some of the key La Nina, El Nino areas, we've seen a warming of the waters, at least closer to the surface there. So we have seen there the heat content increasing a little bit. This is to be expected. Doesn't mean La Nina is going away completely. It's not. It's going to stick with us all summer. But it is eroding a little bit, and that's good. You know, compared to where we were a year ago, we saw the same thing right here. And notice how those sea surface temperatures got colder again relative to average. And we may see that happen again. But right now, there's a little bit of weakening going on. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.